Welcome back to the Weekly Story. My name is Tom and I run a real estate team in downtown Toronto. Now, this episode is going to be a little bit different because it's not so much advice as it really just is the experience I just went through dealing with the Landlord-Tenant Board in Toronto. So to give some context to this situation, I am the landlord in this scenario and I wanted to move back into a house that I had purchased that I was leasing out to a family. Now, for obvious reasons, I'm going to leave out locations and names, but just really give you a step-by-step of the process of what's been going on so far. So earlier on this year, I realized that I need more space for myself and my family, and it would be nice to have a backyard for a dog. So we were just looking for more space, and we had thought, okay, this might be the right time to move from our smaller condo into the townhouse that we've been renting to this family. Now, for anyone that's not familiar, in Toronto, the rules are that if you want to move back into your own property, you have to give the tenant 60 days notice and 1 month's rent compensation, or you have to find them new accommodations if you don't give them that 1 month's rent, but it has to be one or the other. So in this scenario, we tried to be as flexible as we could with the tenants. We actually gave them 90 days notice instead of 60, and we gave them 1 month's rent free by not cashing April's check. So in our mind, everything was taken care of. We had also given them the N12 form. Now the N12 form is the form that legally needs to be sent to the tenant if you have the intent in moving back into your own property, and it has to be given with a minimum 60 days notice. However, about a month before we thought we were going to move back into the property, the tenants told us that they weren't leaving, and they really had no valid reason other than the fact that they just didn't want to leave the property. So this kind of put us in a situation where we had to figure out what we're going to do next, and we looked at all of our options. And what it really came down to is that we had to file a form called an L2, which would then further this matter and take it to the Landlord-Tenant Board and set an actual date for court. This form was filed in about May of 2019, and we were given a court date of August 8th. So from filing to court date, it took about 3 months, and keep in mind that the date we had originally asked for to move back into the property was June 1st. In Toronto and Ontario, basically, the rules for landlord-tenant, a lot of them really favor the tenant, and I think that's happened over time because at certain points landlords had taken advantage of the rules. Residential real estate very much favors the tenant, and commercial real estate very much favors the landlord. So if the tenant decides they're not leaving, there's nothing I can really do. I have to take it to the next step and take them to court. So then the court date finally came. The building that we went to was brand new in downtown Toronto. You walk in, you sign in as either being the applicant, the one making the application, or the defendant, the one which the application is being made against. There's police officers everywhere. You sign in early, you go and sit in a courtroom. Now these courtrooms look like exactly like they would if you're on TV. They got chairs everywhere, you got the 2 tables, then you got the judge at the front. When it was our time to be heard, they gave us a few options. We could take it to mediation, where we could talk with the tenant and try and figure out the exact date, or we could just go in front of the judge, both give our sides of the story and let the judge come to a conclusion. In our scenario, we ended up just going straight to the judge, and this is how it basically broke down. They gave me as the applicant the turn to go first and explain my situation. I told them exactly what I had told you at the beginning of this video. Then they went to the tenant, they got their information out there, back to me to see if I had anything to counter what they said, which I didn't, all the information was true, and then back to them to counter anything that I said. Now, at the end of it, the judge actually did not give us a decision right away. They said that the decision would be mailed to us for what day that we will be given back possession of our property. In conclusion, honestly, this is something that I wouldn't recommend to anybody, especially in my scenario. Like, these are good people. We just wanted to figure out a date in mind that we could finally move back into our property, and there was really no other option that I had other than to take it to court. What I would recommend, if you find yourself on either sides of the equation, whether you're on the tenant side or the landlord side, try and work it out beforehand. I wouldn't recommend going the way that I did, but unfortunately I really had no other options. So that's basically it. We have not heard any news yet on what the decision is going to be, but I'll keep you posted on what happens. If you have any questions about what I've just gone through, or if you have someone that you know in a similar situation, please let me know. I'll help you as much as I possibly can. But I would also recommend calling the Landlord-Tenant Board. They have free services for both landlords and tenants to give you advice, or talking with your lawyer. Hopefully you have a great day, and remember, home is where your story begins.